He set the mattress on fire while incarcerated because of my next guest in this show. I want to hear this story. Get ready for an incredible episode on how to master emotional intelligence in 15 seconds. Today, we will dive deep into the heart of emotional intelligence, exploring its profound impact on our lives, leadership, and mental health. Our special guest, Dr. Riley Nadler, is a PhD psychologist, emotional intelligence speaker, and master certified coach with over 3 decades of experience. Dr. Nadler has dedicated his life to transforming leaders and organizations through the power of emotional intelligence. His work has touched countless lives, from executives at Fortune 500 companies to incarcerated youth seeking a path to emotional mastery. Today, he is here to share his insights, powerful stories, and incredible intelligence. Get ready, my friends, for an enlightening and transformative discussion that promises to change the way you think about your emotions and your leadership. Dr. Nadler, welcome to the show.
All right.
My friend.
Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate that intro and the energy, and we're kind of ready to go here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, my friend. And I want to start here with a powerful question for you, my friend. You often say, if you stay on automatic, you stay average.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And how can individuals break free from the autopilot mode to achieve greater success?
Well, we're all on autopilot. We're all trying to do things quickly, the shortcut. And what we don't do is reflect and take a gap. So, Carlos, you know this. Your career's been on this. What do? Stimulus, same response. Stimulus, same response. Stimulus, same response. If we create a gap, and then we can talk about what do you do in the gap, because that's where you show your emotional intelligence. So you have stimulus, best response. And so we'll get to some of the tools. Ian, you and I are fans of Tony Robbins. He said it in a different way. You know, most of us are in a trance.
Yeah.
And for all good reasons, because the brain, I'm going to talk about neuroscience aspects, the brain is lazy. The brain doesn't really want to think hard. It doesn't really want to think long. And if it worked before, well, maybe it's going to work now. And so with the lazy brain, we have to do something. We have to do some effort and to create that gap. The good news, Carlos, it doesn't take a lot. So the other side of you stay on autopilot, you stay average. If you do a few things differently, maybe more, maybe less, you can be exceptional. So that's the other sentence that goes with if you stay on autopilot, you stay average.
Wow. No, I love that. I love that because it's something that we as leaders, we have a lot of CEOs that follow us here. I mean, you and I, we do a lot of workshops with corporations that we go deep within the emotional intelligence. And that's where a lot of people, they miss it. When we go deep within the emotional intelligence, within the organizations, the sales team, the executives, that's when the magic is going to happen. So we'll be able to uncover some of those battles, the inner demons in the battles that's happening. And once we dealt with them and understand them on a much deeper level, we see an incredible transformation in customer service, in sales, in performance, the whole inclusion within the leadership roles. And tell me something, Dr. Nadler, in your extensive work with leaders, what recurring themes do you see and observe in their challenges and growth? And then part 2, how does emotional intelligence play a role in addressing these themes?
So you show emotional intelligence, like we're saying, in the moment. And I think with the leaders, Carlos, that I've dealt with, I see this more now than ever. I'm sure you do too. Everything is more. So we have, Gallup tells us, more stress now, more anger, more sadness, more loneliness. And I think for executives, they don't have the time to do what they need to do. And so the whole idea of being on autopilot is, can they take the moments, one, to check in with themselves? What are they trying to accomplish? And I think it's that time issue that's the big deal for most leaders, most executives. Their task, what they have to do is so much pressure. So I mentioned everything is more pressure, more stress, more demands. And what they don't do is take the time either to develop their people, or they don't take the time to develop themselves. So often I'll say to HR directors, unfortunately, if I'm not in front of them, or Carlos, someone like you is in front of them, they're not thinking about how to be their best. And they're also not thinking about the person in front of them or who should be in front of them. And so it's having these conversations. You probably know this term, Daniel Kahneman, who wrote the book, Thinking Fast or Slow. When you're in the gap, slow thinking, reflection. We don't have time for that. And in today's world, the research is saying that we have about a 47-second attention span. And you know that from our conversations, 47 seconds.
Yes, it's and in branding and marketing, we have 0 to 1 second to caught their attention or die trying. Think about it, guys. Think about it, what I did here, like a teaching moment, and how did I open this episode? With an intrigue comment, the youth set this mattress on fire, which we're going to go deep into that. But I bet you some of you guys like, what? He set his mattress on fire because of my guest? So we're going to get to the question here in a moment. But what I did there, it's intrigue, it's different. It's like fire, right? Survival. You have triggering emotions and elements. And those are the things that I go deep with my clients and people that I help, that I teach. Like I'm helping Dr. Nelly right now, getting even on more stages and to take things to another level, because he has such a powerful message that people needed to hear. And that's why we're having this conversation here now with you guys, because it's something so important. And thinking about important things, Dr. Nelly, tell me about your inner city young woman who struggled doing a rock climb on an outbound course. What was her major success, and how did you help her process and integrate that success into her life? Because I think that will help a lot of people here.
Okay, great. Well, I'll tell you the story. And actually, it was early in my career, before I was really a professional. I was probably 23 years old. I had worked 1 year in an institution for adolescents, the end of the line in the state of Connecticut. And it was called Long Lane School. And at the very end of this, we had this experience of an outward bound course. For people who don't know about it, they went into the outdoors. And I know you like the outdoors. So it's learning by yourself through hiking, climbing. You had a 3-day solo all by yourself with your thoughts. And so you push yourself, learning about yourself by physically pushing yourself, and then what goes on in the head. So that got me interested. So we had a rock climb, and this is an inner city woman, large, overweight, and there's an instructor on the top, and I had a chance to observe. I was a professional from this state institution, but I quit. And I quit my last because I got burnt out. I was a 23-year-old that was having prostate issues and stress, and so I quit, but I was able to go on this 19-day program that really changed the course of my life, learning by experience. And so on this program, this woman did this climb, instructor up top, instructor below. I was climbing adjacent. And so they were belaying in 45 minutes. She's struggling to get up to this climb. And encouragement, motivation, all that. At the same time, I came up the other side and finished my climb and was present when she came over the edge. And so she climbed and she came over the edge with this smile on her face. Kind of gives me the chills as I talk about it, that she didn't see herself as a physical person, and had this physical success, this climb, and got over the edge. And so I was there for that moment where she was surprised by herself. She was impressed by herself. And to just capture that, it allowed me to say, okay, I want to help people take that success that they have and turn it into a story versus the old story. So this is where processing and facilitation and coaching is so important. And at night, because the instructors didn't know how to facilitate, so we didn't have any groups. We didn't talk about it. And so part of my career said, okay, I want to get group skills. I want to help people make sense of this. And what do we do at night? Instead of talking, we'd have wrestling matches because there was so much energy, so much emotions, but they didn't know what to do with it. So part of when I came out to where I'm at now, Santa Barbara, I got enrolled in a master's program, which was pre-emotional intelligence. It was all group skills. And so a lot of it turned into one of my books called Processing the Experience. So that this young woman can take out of that experience, what was the effort that she did? What did she tell herself? How did she motivate herself? Not so she could do another rock climb, but she had the knowledge to take that into the next challenge. So that's really been a lot of my journey. And it started in these experiential things where people had breakthroughs. You know, in Outward Bound, one of the things people say, I wouldn't take $1 million to take away that experience, but I would not take $2 million to do it again. And you're a military guy, and it's similar to kind of the ropes courses and, you know, obstacle courses. And it's designed to push people. But then my whole focus was, okay, what's the learning? How do you not only be a great climber, what do you learn about yourself? And this is before I had any advanced degrees. And that kind of led me to say, I got to get some skills. I want to take people and I got to help them learn from that.
No, I love it. I love it. Those defining moments I often talk about, right? Our future doesn't have to equal our past unless we carry on the stories with us. Those defining moments are so important within us developing and enhancing our emotional intelligence. And such an interesting topic. I'm fascinated by how the brain works. And I often tell people, you're literally one story away. You are one video away. You are one interview away, one funnel, one newsletter, one post from your most, wildest dreams, your audacious goals. It's so close. And it all goes back to developing and enhancing your emotional intelligence. And that's why I love to bring incredible geniuses and guests like yourself here that does have 3 decades with PhDs and certifications and in the field, in the battles, in the actual training.
Right.
And speaking of that, Dr. Nadler, I mean, you have a very unique approach that suggests that we can improve our emotional intelligence in just 15 seconds. So can you walk us through this process?
Okay.
Some of our guests, they are here. They cannot wait to hear, how do we take our emotional intelligence to the next level in 15 seconds?
Let me enter it this way, Carlos. We can derail, get off the track for success in 15 seconds, if not less. So think of kind of Will Smith walking up to the stage, slapping Chris Rock. Well, he had time to do something different. He didn't have to do that. He was on autopilot. And of course, he's got a new movie coming out. He's got to do great, but we've all lost it. We've all said something we didn't want him to do. We all did something. Matter of fact, I was looked up for this, why is this important? Why to know about your emotions? And the short definition of emotional intelligence is being smart about your emotions. Was Will Smith being smart about his emotions? No. But who was brilliant was Chris Rock. He was in the moment. So I'm going to give you these 15 seconds. But right now, this year already, we've had 225 mass murders, 300 people killed, 830 people wounded because everything is more. We're angry. We're lonely. We don't really know what to do about it. We haven't learned in school. And so my whole master's program was the affective domain. You got the cognitive domain, and it was pre-emotional intelligence, learning about your emotions. So in the gap, what do you do? And so you really have to have presence and you have to kind of be present, and you have to do an assessment in the moment versus autopilot. When I work with managers, what's the manager default? Is to find fault. They go in there and go, hey, I thought you were going to do this. I thought you were going to do that. And then the person is feeling put down. So there's something that I call the emotional audit. So you have to, in those 15 seconds, you have to gauge what's going on for you. And so they're simple questions, but they're powerful questions. We were just talking about Tony Robbins, and I heard some of his questions, which are a little similar. I mean, he had 3, I got 5. So the first one, in the moment, and so it's almost like your grandmother would say, take a deep breath, count to 10. Well, what if you had these strategic questions? And the first one is what's called it's a metacognition. Let me think about my thinking. So what are you saying is, what am I thinking right now? Well, how could they do that? Well, what's wrong with them? And is there a pattern in your thinking, again, when you're triggered? Second question, then, is what am I feeling right now? And so why 15 seconds? Each of these, you ask it, you wait 3 seconds, your brain's going to come up with something. What am I feeling now? That one's a little harder for people, Carlos, because especially us as men, we don't know our feelings that well. Many people know bad, glad, sad, and mad, bad, glad, bad. You know, we know four feelings. Hopefully you get below that and you know more. So what am I feeling? You go into your body and there's a sensation. Can you name that sensation? And so some of the literature is saying the emotions in your body, if you can go to your head and label it, it turns it into a feeling. So now your brain's like, oh, I'm upset, or that scratchiness means I'm anxious. When my son was young, he would say to my wife and I have waist pain. And we're like, what? What do you mean? You got waist pain? What is that? Well, his waist pain, until we could give him knowledge as a parent, this is important. You're helping your kids get knowledge. Waist pain meant he was anxious. So now that sensation went to his head. Oh, I'm anxious. It's repeatable. So that's meta-awareness. You got, what am I thinking? Metacognition. What am I feeling? Meta-awareness. The third question is really important because it helps the cognitive piece. What is it that I really want now? What am I trying to accomplish? What do I want? That's meta-attention. You know, it's all about your focus. And am I clear about what I want? Or I'm not clear. All right, so that one's different in every situation. You want to see if there's a pattern about what you're thinking. Is there a pattern about what you're feeling? And then I'll give you an example going back to Chris Rock, who is brilliant. The fourth question is the key one. How am I getting in my own way right now? That should reveal a pattern. And so that's both a meta-awareness, but also metacognition. How am I getting in my own way right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I want? How can I get in my own way? And then the last one makes sense. What do I need to do now to be my best? And in the last, the years I've added to be my best, it's like AI. You want to get the right prompt. Not what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now to be my best? So I'll give you an example. So right now, for me, what was I thinking before this? Oh, I hope I do a good job. I'm interested in this. What am I feeling? I was feeling some anxiety. What did I want? I wanted to be present. I wanted to enjoy you. How could I get in my own way? I could talk too much. I could talk too fast. I could tell too many stories. Oh, okay. So now, and then I'm going to ask you maybe about this idea of the go-to. What do I need to do to be my best? And I just, it's kind of what I tell myself. I just want to have fun. I want to be curious. I want to be calm. It'll be different in every situation. So let's just use an example of Chris Rock. He's on stage. He gets slapped. And it's two different. One person derailed. The other person was incredible. So he's on stage and, I'm hypothesizing. He's thinking, what the hell? What just happened here? And then what is he feeling? He's confused. He's upset. He's anxious. What does he want? So that question, what does he want? I got, 13 million people watching me. I got to pull this together. I got to make some sense of this. Is there any way he could get in his own way? He could stumble out the words. He could be defensive. What do I need to do my best? And I imagine on some level, he said, I'll do what I always do with a heckler. I'm bringing that into what I'm saying. And he kind of looked to the side and he kind of said, wow, that was the most amazing night ever in movie history. And he even kind of looked down at it from the past. That was the most emotional. And people laughed. He, in 15 seconds, brilliant. Will Smith, 15 seconds, derailed. Can't go to the Oscars for 10 more years.
Wow. I love it. I was just replaying that scene over here in my head as you are talking, and I'm over here reflecting. And, this is something that even myself, as you are talking and asking these questions, I, over the years, always focus on one question that I often ask people a lot when I'm speaking on stages, Doctor. And you know me, Dr. Ed, I'm speaking 3 times a week, lately, it's so busy, and which is a great thing, right? I often tell my clients, it's a great problem to have. You speak and then you travel. My homeschool my daughter, so we travel with the family.
Oh, wow.
Fun. As we speak, we have fun. We go hunt for waterfalls and go check it out, new beaches and falls and lakes and rivers. I love that stuff. So I always end up staying an extra day or two when I am traveling. And a question that I always ask the viewers and the folks on the audience is, when is the last time that you think about your own thinking?
Yeah.
And that is
good one.
Such a powerful question, right? Especially if you are in doubt, if you are in that mode. And then when you're listening, like you look at this golden minds that you are dropping here, where leaders, CEOs of companies, if you guys are listening to us, and I know you are, whether it's not here live right now, it's later on the podcast, think about having these conversations on a deeper level and bringing these frameworks with your employees, with your sales team, customer service, with your board of executives, right? Before making very powerful decisions that can affect thousands, if not a whole bunch, hundreds, tens of thousands of lives, whether it's, firing and letting it go at thousands of people. But sometimes it's all it takes is asking these powerful questions.
Yes.
Journals circling around, masterminding with people like yourself and myself that been in the crunches, that help companies assess before making these decisions. But it all goes back to just take this 15 seconds. Think about this powerful conversation that we're having here now and how to bring emotional intelligence to this conversation. And now let's apply the 15 seconds. Wow, I love it. I really hope you guys are taking some notes. And you're going to say something else, Dr. Nadler.
Yeah. So I want to apply it. I told you a little bit for me, and it's kind of, I'm using this word, I'm sure you are too, because AI is so popular now. And if you don't give the right prompt, you're going to get a bad response. Well, that's us too.
Yes.
What's our prompt? So for me, one of my things before now, or when I speak, is like, I just want to have fun. Or if I'm with clients, my prompt, I'm going to ask you, because I'm going to name this your go-to. So my go-to, when if there's conflict or something, I want to be curious. I want to be present. Or if I'm speaking, I say, okay, I want to have fun. What's kind of your prompt right before you go on stage? Like, what do you do or what do you say to get you into the zone?
Yes. No, I love that. And myself, what I always do? I always go back to faith and just and setting no expectations. One thing that I always do, I tell God, please bless me to speak life into others, even though sometimes they may not see it. And I have zero expectations. I'm over here to have this term that I use, I call selfless sacrifice, giving everything you got in service of others. I don't care if somebody buys, one copy of my book, Work Like an Immigrant, which we donate 100% to the proceeds to help people that are facing hunger. I don't care if somebody hire me to come in and do a workshop for their company to come in or one-on-one to help them on mental health or emotional intelligence or high performance habits. None of that. My whole goal is to inspire, is to empower, is to giving them practical tools so that when they leave that event, and I do the same thing with our podcast, right? When I'm preparing and I'm researching about yourself, and I'm like, how can I extract the best, Dr. Nelly's brain, the best tools and strategies that he has so that we can give our guests a mind-blowing show, right? So now this show is going to be here long after you and I are dead, and we're going to take it to the grave. We're giving, almost like we're giving a gift to humanity.
Oh, good.
Get to know us at our essence, at who we are really. Like, you and I always talk, it's like giving it all we got. The things that we normally charge others, let's give it to them. Let's empower them. Let's make our audience some money because when you operate from that level without expectation and on a selfless sacrifice mode, so many things comes from that. That's when people are going to get empowered. They're going to keep coming back. In social media like YouTube right now, they're going to repurpose this to more people because they see in us adding value, not being salesy, giving tremendous amount of value that's actually going to help society. Because right now, you and I know they going under through a lot of trauma. They've been, they still kind of things are happening still because of COVID, and people are still kind of getting back together, and people are struggling. And speaking of that, Dr. Nadler, in today's rapidly changing world, I mean, why is emotional intelligence more crucial than ever? Like, how can we truly understand and develop EI and then make a tangible difference in our daily lives? Can you go a little bit more deeper about that?
So because everything is so fast, and I have a blog on Psychology Today that I write about that, we don't like to think. And, we don't like to think long. We don't like to think hard. We're lazy. And when we do think, our biases come in. And when we do think, it's past successes. And so because we don't really like to think that much, having emotional intelligence is really pausing. So, mindfulness is a big tool to be able to be present and, just like you're saying, to serve. Or for me, it's really about curiosity. But because so much going on, and like when I work with executives, why emotional intelligence is so valuable. First, there's a ton of research that people who are their best are high in emotional intelligence. So depending on the assessments, as a psychologist, I give assessments, I interpret assessments. The one that I use got 15 competencies. You get an IQ score, you get a score like an IQ. I've given IQ tests. And so now you get an EQ. And so there's 15 competencies. And what happens is, because everybody's on overwhelm, and Carlos, I'm trying to work with this a little bit. You'll probably be able to help me. Overwhelm, what's overwhelm equal? Stinking thinking. And then what's stinking thinking equal? Bad decisions. So I've been kind of working on, is there an acronym for that? And if you are stinking thinking because there's so much going on, you're on overwhelm, and you make bad decisions, you're operating with less IQ points. Because I've given IQ tests, everybody is, 100 is average. You're probably 115 to 120. CEOs are like 125. And so when I work with CEOs or when I work with executives, and I could say, I think you are operating with less IQ points. Whoa, don't tell me that, because I'm so smart. Don't tell me that. Nobody wants to hear that they're operating with less IQ points. But if you raise your emotional intelligence, so one strategy is, and I have a bunch of tools. My book, Leading with Emotional Intelligence, has 108 tools. There's assessments. There's things in there. It looks at self-confidence. It looks at self-control, which Will Smith didn't have, which we're talking about. It looks at developing others. It looks at communication, empathy. And each one, I've interviewed somebody. Hey, so what do you do? This is called the STARS corner. And then what I do as a coach's corner. So it's very, very much how to. Wow. And so I think that for executives, one, to get in the gap, and then what's the tools? What should they do? A lot of it for executives and leaders, one is about managing themselves. So we talk about their triggers, what upsets them, and then how do they catch it? How do they catch it? And that's where the self-awareness comes in. And the whole thing about EI is you raise awareness around your tools, your strengths, your triggers. What do I do? So awareness, adjustment, awareness, regulation, awareness, management. And so I have a whole tool set on the managing side so that they can go, well, how do I give feedback? How do I delegate? Stuff that every day someone should be coaching, delegating, giving feedback. Those three. But they don't know how to do it always. They did it like someone else did it. Maybe good, maybe not. So
it's like it goes right back to the autopilot. They're on the autopilot mode. And that's why sometimes it's like I often talk about it's the little things, the small adjustments that people like yourself and myself come in an organization and they listen to us differently. That's why you and I get paid the big bucks to come in and speak and train these organizations, whether it's leadership, sales, customer service, it doesn't matter which department, because, you know, they listen to their CEOs so much. And it's like going here, getting hardy here, you know, it's like same thing with our spouses and moms and fathers. But somebody else comes and says something, OMG, did you saw what he said? We've been talking about this for a long time. But, you know, but it's like you say, recognizing, asking these questions. And I love your book, Leading with AI. And
EI.
With EI. And in that book, you discuss the derail detector. What are derailers and what are the most common ones that leaders face today? You know, how can you, and a part two to that question, how can we recognize these derailers to help prevent setbacks?
So some of it is just the language and giving, you know, often we've learned this from Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to name it to tame it. So that's not mine. They say name it to tame it or name it to claim it. You got to label it. It's called affect labeling. And a derailer, and in my book, and then also when I work with folks, they fill out a derailer detector. So first they work on where they are in these EI competencies and how do you identify those, and often do those more unless there's a derailer. Sometimes they're called fatal flaws. So a couple of them, Carlos, are smartest person in the room syndrome. That's a derailer. And maybe going back to IQ points, someone's got 2 IQ points more than you do, and they're shoving it in your face. Oh, wait a minute, I did this before. Wait a minute. He's got 2 IQ points. There's nothing. And all it does is irritate people. So smartest person in the room syndrome. And often, one of the things that's interesting in the literature around that, the further you go up in the organization, Carlos, you've seen that, but it mutes empathy. So power mutes empathy. Because I'm an expert in this, I'm probably an expert in everything, right? So you do that. So that's one, smartest person in a room syndrome. The other one we already talked about that happens all the time, and you see it with celebrities, you see it with athletes, lack of impulse control. Will Smith is an example, but he's not the only one. I mean, it happens all the time. And lack of impulse control, if you're in a meeting with someone and they go, it's ridiculous. We tried that before. There's a dead silence in the room. And especially if that's the boss, who's going to speak up to that? Lack of impulse control, and people kind of, walk on eggshells. Another one is failure to learn from mistakes. Keep making the same mistakes over and over. Another one that's an interesting one, because I give these to my clients and have them look at that, is approval dependent. I'm afraid to go forward because first I can't really trust my boss because they're kind of unpredictable and maybe they're going to lose control. And so I have to ask for everything. So I have a tool, and you'll appreciate this, I do this with all my folks, is what can you do on your own? Green light. What do you need permission for? Red light. Simple conversations. Most leaders and their direct reports have not done that. So what happens? Someone comes to you, you don't have much time because, everything's fast. Next I'm doing this, next I'm doing that. And you're thinking, if you're the leader, I don't know why they're telling me that. They should just do it. Well, you didn't say that to them. These things are in your bucket of the green light. You can spend this much money. You can make these decisions. What you really do, though, is say, here's the red light. It's the most important things: over budget, change in strategy, complaints. I need to know that. Tell me what you think, but let's talk about it first. So that's the red light. And what's the error on that? Someone comes to their boss and said, oh, your boss saw me in the hall and they said, what about this project? And I told them, yeah, we would do this. And your immediate boss said, what'd you say that for? We can't do that. You should have brought that to me. So that distinction, red light, green light, it can let all people be more efficient.
I love it. I love it. It's incredible. And guys, really, what I want you guys to take notes, because writing is the doing part of thinking. Like, re-listen. This, if you guys are here on the replay, if you guys want to watch, you can watch us on YouTube at Carlos Inspires in the plural. And if you're going to be here on the replay, listening this on the podcast, once we release it, you can go to Carlos Inspire Show on Apple, Spotify, Alexa, everywhere. And literally take some notes what Dr. Nadler just said here and review your notes right before you go to sleep. Because what that will do,
that's good.
Your brain around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. See, the way your mind, there's a lot of things about the mind that humans they don't understand. And here's how to maximize human potential. He's sharing so many golden nuggets here. By you taking the notes before you go into bed, your mind is going to replay this 20 times as we repeat it around 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So it's almost like you watch the show or review it 20 times, especially if you are going to do a talk about emotional intelligence, IQ, EQ. And this would really help you guys. And it's also going to help you guys also understand your patterns, right? It's a lot of golden nuggets here being shared on the show. And I really want to maximize and making sure that you guys are taking advantage of this and really testing it, applying it out there. And then reach out to Dr. Nadler and myself. Come back to the show here on YouTube, on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, everywhere that's being streamed. And drop in the comments how this helped you deal with maybe a difficult person, whether it was at home, at your job, at your company, and let us know how did these strategies help you in that particular situation. You don't have to say any names, because I love to making these shows interactive, getting feedback from you guys, so I know this is the stuff that you guys want to learn more. And let me know below, is these things that you guys want to learn more? Because I do bring my guests back on my show, after a couple of months by hearing the feedbacks from you guys. And we are here live. Drop questions below. I'm watching you guys out there. I see Bob Sager here on LinkedIn. Shout out. I see Alisa Saoni here. Emotional intelligence. I want some. LOL. Alisa has been on the show. Incredible individual. If you guys go to carlosinspireshow.com and you look it up, Alisa Saoni. Incredible episode that we have it as well. But let's continue this awesome conversation here, Dr. Nadler. And what are some of your favorite all-time intelligence tools that you use with executives? That a lot of my clients here that follow me, I have a lot of people that I train and help, coaches, authors, and consultants, not only getting paid to speak on stages, but also I help them with marketing and scale their companies. So they are listening. What are some of your all-time emotional intelligence tools that you can share with our audience here that they can also apply with their in their line of business?
So I learned this from one of my clients. So I talked about the emotional audit, and this was a Navy SEAL I work with. He was interested in emotional intelligence. He had homework. Why don't you ask yourself these questions, once or twice in the morning, in the afternoon? And so he came back because he was intrigued with emotional intelligence. Again, you're a military folk, and so just being curious, there's a lot going on down there that except not only in your head, you want to better learn from. So he would do that, and then he came back in a coaching session. He said, I'm using that emotional audit with others. And I said, what do you mean? Tell me how you're using that. And so it became the empathy audit. So we have 2 of them. So now what he taught me, he said, before I go into a meeting, he did a lot of project management. He said, I wonder what they're thinking about this project. I wonder what they're thinking about this. So this is all about, In psychology, they call it the theory of mind. Can I get into my head what's going on in their head? I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what they're feeling about me or they're feeling about the project. I wonder what they want in this situation. Is there any way that I could get into in their way or they get in their own way? And again, what do I need to do now? Same 5 questions, 15 seconds to be my best in this meeting with them. It's the theory of mind and kind of understanding. So that's one tool. And then I'll just share one more thing. And it's really around empathy. And you're doing this now. Our leaders doing it. Are you really listening? There's a book called Super Communicators that just came out with the same guy who wrote Power of Habit, and it's got some great stuff in there around emotional intelligence to be a super communicator. Well, listening is critical. And so one of the things is being able to summarize what someone said before you move on. And here's the metric, because we talk about KPIs for leaders, and I have a leadership scorecard. I have a team scorecard, so they can go by the metrics, but this is a listening scorecard. Can the person say, after you summarize that to them, that's right, or exactly? So it forces you, if you're trying to hear that, I got to somehow summarize, I got to somehow give it back to them that I got it, and I got it, that's right, or exactly. If not, it allows space to listen to them. Smartest person in the room, I only want to listen to me. So
I love it. I love it. And as you know me, I'm very present when I am with you every time. And I'm there with everybody that knows me. Even having conversations, lunch, when I'm speaking at events, somebody stop me on the hallway. And they tell me the same. I love how present you are, Carlos. Like, you are here, you with me, you give me the time, the respect. And it's like, because why? It's like, it comes back to treat others how you treat your loved ones. You guys often see me saying, treat others like you treat your grandma. And that's how I am.
Oh, that's good.
It's so important. And one thing that I always say, right, I have a framework I call LAT. I often talk about this from the stage. So for you guys listening, right, before you are out there, for some of you guys that are going to network and events this weekend, today, this week, next week, in the months to come, and apply this LAT method, which is L stands for listen more, right? You want to listen. People love feeling heard, like exactly what Dr. Nelly is talking about over here, right? In this his last point. And then what does the A stands for? Ask questions, my friend. Person that asks the most questions is in control of the conversation. And then you guys know me. I'm a very good listener, but what do I do a lot with you guys? Whenever we are talking and networking, I'm asking questions, right? And then the T, this is something that the reason why I am married for 18 plus years. Sometimes when I am traveling and my spouse doesn't want to come, and some of these events, you go there for like 1 or 2 days, and they're like, can you actually speak one more time for another group? I'm CEOs of Fortune 50 companies. And then they know me. I master how to say no, but sometimes like, you know what, all right, I'll stay an extra day. And they pay me really well for that. But then now you told your spouse you're going to be gone for 2 days, and then it might be 3 or 4 days. So now when I come back home, I go and I apply my T with the tango method, which means we'll meet more.
Oh, that's good.
So now, my friends, whenever you guys are out there, I want you guys to apply this method, the LAT. You listen more, you ask more questions, and you tell me more. And if you think about it, a lot of people in law enforcement, like you guys know me, I used to be a Marine in Brazil, and I help a lot of military folks and Deltas and Navy SEALs. I love our American military and military in general around the world, and I love giving back and helping them. And I train many of them on how to become speakers, how to grow. They want to coach, they want to consult. I help them scale and grow their companies. And I say, guys, we got to apply some of the stuff that we learned in military, in government. Like if you think about it, right? CIA, FBI, they use this type of trainings. They're very good listeners. They ask lots of questions.
Yeah.
Tell me more, right? Because they want to build their report way deeper with the person or intel, whatever they're trying to do. So literally, this is a game changer for anybody here that's an introvert. Maybe you are struggling to build, to connect. And like I tell you guys, man, the whole purpose of this show is to bring in incredible people like Dr. Ellie, and for us to have this type of conversations that's going to inspire my guests, myself, to keep raising the standard of education in our industries, right? It's about educate to dominate. It's about being the ones that gives the most value, like Dr. Relly do it on and on and on, like you guys hearing myself doing it for the last 2 decades. It's about add value to your industry. Give them your best. I promise you, when you do that and you don't have any expectations, they will come back and it's going to be incredible. My friend, what an incredible conversation. I know we're getting over here towards the end. I have a few more questions here for you. I hope you guys are loving and enjoying. I see you guys out there on social media. I appreciate you all. And I mean, you have trained, coaches for over 20 years within the College of Executive Coaching. I have a lot of people here on LinkedIn that follow me that comes from that space that I bet you they are loving this. What major themes and changes have you observed in the coaching industry, especially these last 10 years? We've seen a lot of changes, and how the role of emotional intelligence evolved within that context.
Yeah. Like you said, I've been training folks. I probably have trained about 1,500 people to be coaches. And we get a unique group at the College of Executive Coaching. We were the 9th school to get certified by the International Coach Federation. Now there's like 600 or 700 schools worldwide. The people who come to our program typically have an advanced degree, master's, MD. So we get some really, very cool people. And, there's great coaches who haven't gone this route, but, people have chose to go the route of getting certified. So a lot more people in mid-career. So we get a lot of folks who in their second, third career want to be coaches. So actually we have a lot of people from the military.
Yes.
You think about the leadership that you spoke about, they've got great experience. And then sometimes it's hard to say, okay, well, how do I take that? So being a coach and talking about leadership is important. So a lot more people are getting into it. So that's, one aspect. And then I think it's a little bit of the certification game. Do you want to do it? Like, I was already a psychologist before I got into it. And I'd like, do I really need to do this? But I think it's, you all make your own choices. So that route of kind of what's your background. There's a lot of CEOs who don't have certification as a coach. They got wonderful experience, like yourself. You got wonderful experience. So that's one of the dynamics is you're moving, do you want to get certified? Do you not want to get certified? But then there's a ton of training. And I think this idea of around listening, and one of the key things about, it's called The Coaching Habit, or the most popular coaching book. It's got some good 7 or 8 questions. One is just exactly one that you have in your LAT. And so one question, and think about this, how hard is this to do? It's called the AWE question, AWE. What's the AWE question? Someone talks and you say, and what else? That's great. And what else? So what happens when, I've interviewed, because I have a podcast, and we're going to get you on that. We have someone who is an expert about listening, and I really like this. The first thing out of someone's mouth just scratches the surface. If we run with that to give advice about that, we've missed the depth. How many times today, Carlos, have you talked about depth? So I think he has a metric, like it's only 14% of the story that you get when the first thing. And so if we're not good listeners and we don't say, and what else? Or tell me more. And then they go deeper. And it's almost a test. I'm this way, and I don't know if you are this way.
Yeah,
I'm this way that I'll give someone a little bit. And so I'll give you this because this goes back to the Outward Bound experience. It was transforming for me because I've led Outward Bound trips. My master's was coming up with a curriculum. And so I came back to one of my friends as I was an observer on this first one. And I said, wow, this was phenomenal. And is this? And he said, oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And I'm like, what? I'm here and he's there. And my daughter now is getting her master's in psychology, and she's done, incredible stuff. She's been to Kenya. And so here's what I took away with that. I don't want to give something to someone who's not going to receive it. So here's the analogy. It's like it's precious china that was handed down, plates from my grandmother to me, and I have this precious china, and I say, Carlos, wow, this is so cool. Here, you want to take a look at it? And as I give it to you, you look away, it falls, and it cracks in front of me. That's where I think listening is important, that I'm not going to give it away until someone asks me the right question or we go deeper. And I think for the leaders and for the coaches, yeah, we'll give you some techniques, but you got to be genuine and you got to get deeper because they're going to say it's trust. Oh, you are really interested. So I'll give you my next level. Oh, you did pretty good with that one. You said, that's right, exactly. I'll give you my next one.
I love it. I love it. I used to be, with my military training, I used to be very strict where I would do a session for a client, like a CEO of a company, to work on something that he was having challenge with. And I said, I'm not talking to you until you're done with that task. So the second session wouldn't happen until he would accomplish. So this way,
okay,
zero deviation from the goal. It's like, you are going to do it. That's no plan B's. This is it. This is what's going to fix it. You're going to apply it. And we will talk once you are done. And like military, very strict. And he's like, all right, I need to talk to Carlos again to talk about this other problem that I have. Since now, so I got to fix. And then what they wouldn't see it happening. And so you will see the growth way fast because now they full focus. There is no distraction, no social media, no crap, no nothing. You learn how to say no. Anything that doesn't add value. If the money is a problem, how do we focus on income creating activities? What is the problem? What is it distracting you? What is it impeding you away? What is those distractions that are getting you away from accomplishing your goals? Right. Let's go deep. And I love it because a lot of the things that we are talking here today goes right back. Like, are you present when you are out there with your team, your employees, your executives, your board? You're asking the right questions. Are you implementing the right frameworks within the organization? Spending the time, taking them on a leadership development retreat. Let's go deep. Reach out to people like Dr. Rally, myself. We can help facilitate those things. So I'm loving it. And here's a question that I bet that many of you guys, great listeners, are waiting to hear me ask, which is one of your stories that you shared about an incarcerated youth who set their mattress on fire in anger. Can you tell us more about this experience and how it highlights the importance of PI in mental health?
So thank you. This is one of my defining moments. I was only 23. I had a BA in psychology. I worked at this institution. These are badass kids. And they're in a group home, and it's like the end of the line. So I'm the only staff, and I'm in this situation with the least amount of experience. So I didn't really know what I was doing. We had a list on the wall, Carlos, of behavior modifications things that you would have to get a timeout if you cursed, if there was horseplay, if you were disrespectful. And so I quickly had to say, okay, am I going to do a good job and enforce the rules, or am I going to be their buddy? Oh, don't do it again. Oh, I'll let it go. Just don't do it again. So I always got to be, follow the rules. So this guy's name is Tony. And Tony basically, he probably was discourteous to staff or horseplay. And so I warned him he'd have to go in a room for a half hour. I'm the only staff. You got all these juvenile delinquent kids who are looking for entertainment. And so I said, all right, Tony, that's a timeout offense. And so a timeout offense means he'd have to go in a room for a half hour. We had 3 of these. He'd have to go in their room. Well, he's like, Nadler, you're already doing it. And we go through this routine. Tony, are you going to take the timeout? No, you're always doing that. What about him? What about him? Are you refusing a timeout? Because the other rule on the wall was if he refused the timeout, now he has 24-hour lockup. So now we have like 20 kids, and they're bored to death. Oh, look at Tony. Look at Nadler. Because they instead of Nadler, they go, look at Nadler. And they go, oh, okay, what's going to happen? So basically, I said, okay, this is it. You refuse the timeout. If you're not in there in the count of 5, I'm taking it as a refusal. But this is how dumb this whole behavior model was. So I said, all right, now you refuse the timeout. So is he going to walk up the stairs and have 24 hours lockup? No. So also, if I have to call security, which I had to, Now the 24 hours becomes 48 hours. So he knows the rules just like I do. And I said, all right, so you're refusing a timeout. It's going to be 24 hours. I call security, 2 retired cops who are on security come. And then now he's got 48 hours lockup. And so we go, all right, come on, Tony, you got to go to lockup. Come on. And so, and I'm probably you have seen this. As soon as you put your hand on him, he pushes. And so he pushes. And so they grab his arms. I'm grabbing his feet. We're carrying up the stairs. And I'm holding on to his feet because if I lose it, he's kicking me in the nose. So I carry him upstairs. We carry him upstairs, and there actually was a cell door. So we open it up, and there was somebody else who was locked in their room. It was kind of like a dormitory, but he's in the cell door. He goes in, big 2x4, goes down, and it's over temporarily. The security cops leave. Everybody else is now, they're kind of back to, playing pool, wherever they're doing. And about 10 minutes later, I hear, Nadler. And it's Tony. And I go up because he's up there, and he says, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, all right. And meanwhile, he's got another person behind another door who's bored to death. And so he goes, I got 20 kids downstairs. I'm like, oh, man, what's going to happen with these guys? And so he comes out and he says, I'm not going back in there, and you can't make me. And I'm like, come on, Tony. And I'm thinking about it. What's going on downstairs? And so here's where I lost it too. I mean, so I was not at my best because I didn't have any experience. I'm like, come on, Tony, you got to go in. Come on. And I put my hand on him. He pushes me. That's his next reaction, autopilot. And then I get him in a headlock, and I race him down. The door is open to the cell, and I push him in there, but I fall down too. So whoever gets up first is going to lock the other one in. And so because I played sports and I was more agile than him, I got up, locked it up. But this whole thing happened probably in 10 seconds. So here he is behind. He thought he was going to big deal. He was somehow, I don't know what he thought. Same thing for me. I was all anxious and upset. And, I had a result to physical, maintaining him. So I go back downstairs. 10 minutes later, I smell smoke. And so that's, he only had pajamas on. He snuck in matches, maybe up his butt. I don't even know where he had them. He lit his mattress on fire, and he's got nothing in there, and he's locked in. And so that was, for me, like, wow, first, I lost it. He lost it. And because he did not have to deal with his emotions, he didn't have to know how should I deal with my anger. He didn't have the emotional audit. He was really dumb, operating with less IQ points. That became a defining moment. And then I went to this master's program right after that, where it was all about the affective domain. And that kind of led, which I'm still doing the same thing, helping people not lose it, be their best in the moment. Tony was his worst in the moment. I was terrible in the moment. How can we all get better?
Wow. What an incredible story, man, dealing with the little Tony Montana Jr.
Right.
I love it. I love it how you also recognize it, right? Which a lot of things now, it's very hard. And that's leadership, is recognizing when we are wrong as leaders and when we make the wrong decisions, right? That led to, that outcome could have led into anything, right? You could have been, locked inside that cell, and he could have go out there and tear it down and burn it down, the whole prison, right? God knows what would happen because you were working by yourself. So that's awesome. And I really appreciate it. And this takes us to the final question of the show, my friend. What an incredible episode that will be here for the ages. And this question is a question that I ask every guest. It's your eulogy.
That's
a decade from now. And all your best friends and loved ones will be there. They will be smoking Cuban cigars, having a little water, wine, or tequila, or whiskey, or whatever they feel like drinking. And your best friend, your loved one, they're going to be reading your eulogy. And they will say, Dr. Relly Nadler was ... In your own words, my friend, who was Dr. Relly Nadler?
It's a great question. I would say what I'd like for them to say is I made them feel special, and I was always there for them. So that would be that. And I think I use a similar question, especially with executives. What resume are you building? And it's exactly your question, Carlos. You know, are you at your funeral? Are you building a resume about your character, about who you are, or are you building a resume about, wow, you returned emails, you know, by the end of the day every time. You were totally organized. You never dropped a project. So that's an important question.
I love him. What a great, very great answer, my friend, and a way to be reminded of. And I just want to thank you, my friend, for being here today. What an incredible show, Dr. Nadler. Your insights just have been nothing short of transformative. Like from understanding the profound impact on emotional intelligence, EI on steroids, on our mental health and our leadership skills, to practical tools, easy to apply and to implement in just 15 seconds. My leaders, coaches, authors, CEO friends that follow the show over the years, you guys know this show is free. The way how you guys can help all of us is by liking, commenting, share this episode. What it's for you guys that are watching here live, share it, repost it, because there are other people out there right now. They are dealing with mental health and challenges within their companies and their businesses, doesn't matter the size, where they can apply some of the discussions that happen here in this incredible episode today that can create tremendous, incredible, lasting change results in their business. So your story, my friend, has moved us, for sure has moved me and made me reflect. As much as I teach those things over the years, it's always reflect. And I love hearing, you know, from a lot of my clients like yourself. And we, as mentors, we learn just as much as a student, which I often see you saying it. And I love that. And to our listeners, hopefully you guys found this episode inspiring and thought-provoking as I did. Remember, emotional intelligence is not just like a skill. It's a journey towards becoming the best version of yourself, both personally and professionally. If you wanted to dive deep into the world of emotional intelligence, be sure to visit Dr. Nadler's website by going to www.drrelynadler.com for more resources, insights, and opportunities to learn. Thank you, my friend, Dr. Nadler. And thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience with us. And thank you all, our listeners, for tuning in. Stay more for incredible episodes coming in your way. In the months and weeks to come, we are releasing new episodes every Monday at 7:17 a.m. Pacific time for you to listen on audio, Apple, Spotify, Alexa, and everywhere. And we are doing live episodes on video on Tuesdays and Thursdays on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So stay tuned for more. Until next time, stay emotionally intelligent and keep striving for excellence. Goodbye.
Thank you.